In the Valley of Mexico, an empire sustained itself not through armies alone, but through an elaborate system of rituals that bound every person, from emperor to farmer, into a single cosmic obligation. The Aztecs believed their gods required constant nourishment to keep the sun moving and the world alive. This was not mere belief, it was state policy, enforced through tribute, training, and public spectacle. In this episode, we'll look at how ceremony functioned as the machinery of imperial control, demanding participation from conquered provinces and commoners alike. From the temple summit, the full scale of this sacred precinct becomes visible below. A carved serpent wall encircles the vast stone plaza, marking the boundary between holy ground and ordinary city life. Within this enclosure stand dozens of temples and platforms dedicated to different gods. A massive wooden skull rack dominates one section. Thousands of skulls arranged on horizontal poles, a permanent reminder of the Empire's ritual demands and military reach. Two elite warrior societies maintain their headquarters within the precinct itself. The Eagle Warriors and Jaguar Warriors represented the highest military ranks, men who had proven themselves by capturing enemies alive for sacrifice. Their meeting houses stood as recruiting monuments, inspiring young men to seek glory through combat. Throughout the precinct, priests performed constant maintenance duties that were themselves considered sacred acts. The eternal fire required continuous tending, its extinction unthinkable. Young priests swept the plaza stones daily, transforming basic cleaning into religious observance. Every action within these walls carried ritual significance. Nothing was merely practical. The sacred precinct functioned as the Empire's beating heart, where military might and religious duty fused into a single system of power. The Empire's priestly class did not emerge by accident. Young men destined for religious service entered the Kalmakak, a strict temple school where they trained for years under demanding conditions. These schools operated throughout the city, each attached to a major temple, producing the specialized priests who kept the ritual calendar running. Life inside was deliberately harsh. Novices slept on thin reed mats in crowded dormitories, woke before dawn, and spent long hours in instruction. They learned to read the sacred books, folding screens of bark paper painted with gods, ceremonies, and calendar signs that recorded centuries of religious knowledge. Mastering these texts required years of memorization and practice. Physical discipline formed another pillar of training. Novices learned ritual bloodletting, drawing maguey thorns across their own flesh and collecting blood as offerings. They practiced sacred chants until elders approved their tone and posture. On rooftop platforms, senior priests taught astronomical observation, tracking the sun and stars to calculate festival dates and predict cosmic events. Hierarchy within the priesthood was immediately visible. Senior priests wore long black cloaks and matted hair, while juniors went nearly bare. This visible ranking reinforced obedience and aspiration. When trained priests finally departed for their assigned temples, they carried the knowledge and discipline needed to maintain the Empire's religious machinery. That machinery demanded constant supply. From distant provinces, long columns of tribute bearers travelled the lake causeways toward the capital. They carried quetzal feathers, jaguar pelts, cacao, gold dust, cotton cloth, and rubber. Luxury goods extracted as taxes from conquered peoples. Among these material riches walked human captives, their bodies painted white, destined for the temples rising ahead. Upon reaching the imperial palace, tribute bearers deposited their loads in an open courtyard, where officials waited to inspect and record every item. Scribes painted pictographic inventories on bark paper. Feathers, pelts, cacao, gold, each marked with numerals and compared against provincial quotas. The collected wealth then flowed into massive warehouses, sorted by type and stored in conditions suited to each material. Feathers went into sealed containers, pelts onto raised platforms, cacao into enormous ceramic urns. From these central stores, goods were redistributed according to need. Luxury items for nobles, raw materials for craftsmen, and ritual supplies for the temples. Priests received regular allocations of incense, bark paper, rubber, and sacrificial animals. Temple storage rooms organised these goods by the calendar, filed according to which upcoming ceremony required them. The religious system consumed tribute constantly, its festivals following a rigid 260-day sacred cycle that never paused. But the empire's reach extended far beyond its capital. In tributary provinces throughout central Mexico, local towns operated under imperial oversight while maintaining their own identities. Farmers cultivated cotton and maguey specifically for imperial quotas. Skilled featherworkers assembled shields and standards destined for the capital. Imperial collectors visited regularly, presenting codex records of exactly what each province owed. Local warriors trained constantly, knowing that captive taking in battle offered their only path to status. When war parties departed these provincial towns, they marched toward conflicts that served the empire's unending ritual demands. The Aztec military system existed not primarily to kill enemies, but to capture them alive. This purpose shaped everything about how warriors fought. The so-called flower wars were pre-arranged battles with neighbouring states, conflicts designed to provide a steady supply of prisoners for sacrifice without the risks of total warfare. Warriors travelled for days to reach designated battlefields, crossing mountain passes in organised columns. When opposing forces met on open ground, combat followed strict conventions. Individual warriors sought to grapple and subdue opponents rather than deliver killing blows. Success meant pinning an enemy down, binding his wrists and leading him away alive. A warrior's status rose with each captive taken. 4 captures could earn elite rank, jaguar or eagle warrior status, and the right to wear the distinctive animal costumes. After battle, victorious warriors displayed their prisoners and captured weapons as proof of skill. Healers treated wounds, on both sides with herb poultices and stitched cuts with maguey thread. Then the march home began, captives bound in the column's centre, destined for temple summits they had only heard of in fearful stories. Yet the ritual system did not demand only from warriors and captives. Every Aztec household participated daily in religious observance. Common families rose before dawn to make offerings at small shrines built into their home walls, maize, flowers, water and prayers placed before crude clay deity figures. They walked to local neighbourhood temples for morning ceremonies, purchased ritual supplies at nearby markets, and organised their lives around the sacred calendar's demands. Potters shaped ceremonial vessels for temple use. Weavers produced cloth for priestly garments. The religious system touched everyone, creating obligations that bound commoners as surely as tribute bound conquered provinces. Religious education began in childhood. Young ones watched grandparents perform household prayers, absorbing gestures and rhythms through observation rather than instruction. By the time they could walk, children knew how to hold an incense burner, when to bow, and which offerings belonged before which gods. Commoners owed labour as well as reverence. Temple maintenance fell to neighbourhood residents who hauled stones, mixed plaster, and repaired sacred structures as mandatory service to the state. This work was itself considered spiritually significant, contributing physical effort to buildings where gods were fed. Local festivals brought neighbourhoods together in coordinated celebration, dancing in concentric circles around drummers, while observers joined from the edges. These ward-level ceremonies synchronised with the larger imperial calendar, ensuring that every district participated in the same cosmic rhythm. But the greatest ceremonies occurred at the sacred precinct, where the empire's full power made itself visible. On major festival days, the entire city converged. Provincial delegations, warrior societies, noble houses, and common families filling the ceremonial plaza until no space remained. There, before the Great Pyramid, the system revealed itself completely. Tribute wealth was displayed on platforms: feathers, gold, jade, cacao, proving that conquest paid divine dividends. Captives taken in battle were presented to the crowd that had demanded them. Priests climbed toward the summit carrying obsidian blades. When smoke rose from the temple fires, the crowd below moved as one body, arms raised in synchronized submission. Noble and commoner, warrior and artisan, capital resident and provincial visitor. all participated in the gesture that acknowledged their place within the cosmic order. This was how rituals controlled an empire, not through force alone, but through shared obligation made visible, repeated and inescapable.